Good morning, friends and traders. Welcome to Market Forecast. I am Dan Hodgman, filling in for John Hoagland here today, who is finally taking some well-deserved time off. So hopefully you and we can all get through this here today and tomorrow. We've got some good opportunities out there. I'm excited about what's going on so far here today. I think the markets are starting to react pretty well. Finding some good levels are already coming into play. I think some people have already probably taken advantage of those. Yes, shady trader. It's only Hodgman. I do apologize for that. Like I said, let's hope we can get through this one. Lots going on around the world. First and foremost, the thing that just has got me mind boggled, and I saw pictures of this last night. The tanker or the shipping container ship down in the Suez Canal that's jammed in there. Yesterday, they had one bulldozer and two people trying to get it unstuck. So this is, and I think it's the second largest ship in the world. So this is a big deal. This is going to cause issues to a lot of shipping lanes, right? What's being moved? Imports and exports. Oil, one of the big things that we want to pay attention to. There's a lot going on that this thing can really affect. So we want to keep an eye on that one. I think it's today is President Joe Biden's first press conference since taking office a little over a couple months ago. Jerome Powell came on this morning and basically was on NPR's Morning Edition and basically said this vaccines allowed the economy to recover a lot faster than they expected, and it may lead to some questionable things going on. That's kind of why we're seeing the stocks breaking right now. But hey, we had good numbers as it relates to jobless claims. Jobless claims better than expected. Consensus was going to be around 730,000. We're 684 there. And GDP, good number. Kind of high side of the consensus range, but 4.3% quarter over quarter. So good news to be paying attention to there. I think, like I said, we're in some good opportunities with some of these stocks here. We are seeing some stocks struggling, right? We got Tesla's down a little bit. We got Airbnb's down. GameStop took the big hit. VIX is up a little bit. And yields are down. Yields are down. We have stocks down. That's an interesting thing we want to think about there. We've got bonds are higher. Notes are higher. So there's a lot going on. And while I've got y'all here, there is a lot of conversation going on about what's going on here at Top Step. If you received an email from me, just sign up for the call. We're going to have a chat. Just got to take a look at some stuff. We are seeing some anomalies with fill data, and we want to make sure things are done properly. We don't want to have people going through a program and getting hurt because of the trading aspect. We're here to create good trading, right? And that's what we're all here to do. If you're trading for multiple days and your average fills are counted in microseconds, or I should say average trade duration are counted in microseconds, not full seconds, there's something going on, and we just want to figure that out and get down to the bottom of it. So nothing to worry about. I can't stress it enough. So please, don't hesitate. If you got that email, sign up for a call with me. We're just going to sit down and I got to go over some stuff. It's as simple as that. So on that note, I do want to say good morning to everybody. Brian, Rick, Felix, Bill, Level 2, Clarence, Mischief, Troy, Bulldozer, Shady, Sharon, Mike, Murph. Good morning. Murph always coming in with that positive mentality, that positive attitude. Helps me out every day when I see your comments in here. So I got to say thank you. We all want to have that positive mentality every morning. It helps get sitting down to trade a little bit easier. Caesar, good morning. Lamus, good morning. Murph, Ednelson, Laura, Ashton, Jason, Shady. Yes, only Hodgman. Alan, Rob T, good morning. Level 2, I think I completed my day, but the greed will drag me into the market. Well, only if the market sets you up properly, not... Don't be doing anything too silly. Shady Trader, I'm going to give you my best. I got a couple things to look at in a few of these markets that I'm pretty excited about. So we'll talk about those here in just a moment. Usually we have at least 3 Hoax, Rick, Lacey, John, and sometimes Luke. Only one Hodgman. Sarge sits outside. We get up in the morning. All he wants to do is get right outside. And as long as it's not raining or like 10 below zero, he just lays outside all day. I've got a big, huge front porch that he just sits out there all day long, wanders out into the grass, says hello to all the neighbors that walk by. He doesn't come in the house. So you're really just getting me. Angela, good morning. Magnum, JD, Jacek, Andres, George, Danny from Danny, Ireland. I like that name. Good to see you. JD, yes, as always, the dancing bear. Well, Murph, I got a couple lower for you, but I also have a couple things to be looking at to maybe see if we're going to turn around. We'll take a look at those things here in a second. Puke Tesla, covered with an option. All right. Jonathan, good morning. Tim, Oleg. Trading research, it's not even for anyone in particular. It's under 20 people. We have a few hundred traders in our funded accounts. That we fund thousands of traders. It's only under 20 people, so nothing to worry about. I promise. Magnum saying the low is in, unless it goes lower. Exactly. Well, why don't we go ahead and take a look at these charts, and we'll kind of see what we can find. We'll go through them together a little bit, and don't hesitate to point out anything if I'm not seeing it and you are seeing it. So let's make sure we help each other out. And Richie, good to see you as well. All right, everybody. We're going to start with the daily and crude. So obviously, like I said, there's the issues going on with what's happening in the Suez Canal. How's that going to affect shipping? Well, ultimately, we want to be thinking about how many shipping containers are just sitting out in the ocean waiting to come in because of COVID. We do have some hesitations there. So yesterday, this is what I think is wild. We 100% recovered from the prior day loss. Huge days yesterday on Wednesday. So we recovered Tuesday's losses. We're now starting to try and find fair value within those last 2 days. So as we look a little bit closer here, we have weekly kickoff low down at 58.80. It's going to be an area to keep an eye on. That's going to be my first check if this thing continues lower. Below that, I'm not making it all the way down to the lows down here at 57.27. Not ready to get all the way down there, but I'm looking closer to $58 down to $57.80. Those are the areas I'm going to be keeping an eye on if this market continues to press lower. Obviously, we have just about checked Wednesday or Tuesday's point of control. That has been a checked point of control, so I think our business is somewhat done there. But that's also going to be an area we want to keep an eye on. So we've got a lot going on basically right where we're trading right now. Again, when we say 58.80 is weekly kickoff low, it's not a finite level. It's an area. It's a range. And what we start to see is we recognize where our high volume areas are. It's kind of running all the way up to 59.20 over here, down to about 58.80. So we've got kind of a little bit of a range that we can look for an opportunity within. Depending on the time frame you're looking at, you might be able to utilize that little range as an actual range to trade with inside of. Other people may be looking at that and saying, look, as I get into this range, I'm looking for a bigger opportunity outside of it. So there's a lot to be looking at when we look at these areas. So again, cannot stress it enough. Just because we say 58.80, keep an eye on that entire range, that entire area that's really drawing our attention. Oh, no. I hate when I do that. All right. I'm going to have to fix that 30-minute chart. Next, let's go ahead and look at the S&P 500. All right. So, something to note. We have all these moving averages here. These things we're paying attention to. Well, the 50 period, I wanted to bring this up just so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at. The 50 period exponential moving average on the S&P 500 on the daily is right here at 38.45. Now, that kind of comes in line with some other things we can start to pay attention to. Now, obviously, when we're looking at trend lines, we want to keep a couple things in mind. So here's kind of an area I'm keeping an eye on. I'm not putting a lot of validity into it. I'm going to continue to run this. But we need more than 2 points of contact, really, for a solid trend line to be considered. But I'm going to keep an eye on this as we continue this directional trading that we're doing. As we continue to make new highs, these markets have to peel back a little bit. We have a lot going on economically. There's a lot of questions politically that we are being asked right now. There's a lot of changes happening. So I'm going to start to keep an eye, and I'm looking here. I've got 3 points for this market to check as we move lower. But let's take a little bit closer look and see what we've got really going on. All right. So first and foremost, settlement price on the, excuse me, let me pull that back up. Here we go. Settlement price, 38.80 3/4. We have good news with jobless claims. We have decent news with GDP. Jerome Powell saying, well, what he's been saying for the last week and a half. Do we start to find a bottom? Murph's talking. He thinks the low is, Magnum saying low is in. Does this thing rotate higher? Well, if it does, I kind of mentioned a couple areas to look at if we start to move down that 50 EMA. And now if we start to rotate higher, where do we look? Where are we looking with this thing? Well, settlement price. Do we close the gap to settlement price? That's been a reactive price. It paid out quite heavily, a lot in the overnight session. We bounced yesterday afternoon, and once we opened up last night, we had a nice bounce off it. We rotated back down to it. Once again, 3 a.m. Great opportunity right off of that. And then last night, it finally broke. It fell over just like a boxer. How many hits can this settlement price take before it starts to fold over? And it did. And it broke heavily. Now, where can this thing really go? Well, like I said, I gave a couple of those levels to definitely keep our eyes on. And don't forget, we do have weekly kickoff low, just a few ticks below our low at 38.48. How about that? So that's going to be my low side to look at before I'm actually looking over here at that 50 EMA right at 38.40. 38.40 is approximately what we're going to call it. So we've got a couple points to keep an eye on as this market moves lower. If not, we talked about rotation to the upside. Next, let's go ahead and look at the NASDAQ. Now, NASDAQ's in an area that has been created quite a bit of support over the last few, basically since the year started. Right exactly where we're trading right now, 12,700, has been a really reactive price this entire year. We've got one nice bounce, two nice bounce. We rotate down to it, bounce off that again. We finally break through, we rally back through it again, and we've continued to find support and resistance at the exact same price, 12,700. That's what I'm keeping an eye on here. Now, that is also, I don't have it on this chart right now. I have it on my other charts. That is also almost to our 100-day exponential moving average, which is 12,674. So 12,674 is where that 100-day EMA is at. Now let's look a little bit closer here on the 30-day. Whoops, wrong one. Here we go. Settlement price. We want to know that one. 12,794. And one thing I've been saying a lot in the recap is making sure that you are looking at the prior day high, value area high, prior day value area low. So I do want to just touch on those so you have them as we kind of look at these things. If this thing really does rotate over and turn into this rip-roaring of a day, value area low, down here 900, value area high, up above 13,000, so 13,034. And again, settlement price, 12,794 even is our settlement price. And that is the direction that I'm looking at if this thing starts to bounce. Remember, like I said, we've got the 100-day EMA down here at 12,674. Man, these are big numbers to talk about sometimes. So that's going to be an area I'm going to keep an eye on. Like I said, we have found continuous support as this market's approached that 700 level. So we have this zone right down here that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. So let's go ahead just so we can take a look at it this afternoon, see how the market react around this kind of area, because that's something we want to pay attention to. There we go. So this is just kind of the area we'll be talking about this morning. Let's see how the market reacts as we trade in this area. So like I said, that's kind of the area I'm looking at to the downside. If we move through that, we've got last week's low is in this range as well, by the way. So if we start to move through that, there's going to be a lot of room to the downside. As we saw, it goes back over here. we really don't have much validation until this market is getting down towards that 400 level. So there is quite a bit of room if we break through that 74, which also, as a reminder, on our 30-minute chart here, last week's swing low is 681. So we've got a lot that may help hold this market up here today. Now, if we break through, we may see a big directional downside move. Like I said, we may see a couple 100-point move to the downside if this thing breaks through. So I really do think we're in a pivotal spot here. We might be able to find some great opportunity off the open, which is about 15 minutes away. So we'll keep moving through these. Gold has maintained a steady decline in this market overall here since the start of the year for the most part. We have been in a steady decline. Weekly kickoff low down here. Let me throw these on because I don't always adjust my dailies on this. 1704 weekly kickoff low with a weekly kickoff high all the way up here at 1748. So what do we got going on in this market? What do we want to pay attention to? Well, for me, we've talked about this low side here, this little channel, this range. We've talked about it for quite a few days. It's proving optimal right now, continuously giving us great opportunity. I can't stress that one enough. These are things that we want to be paying attention to. Now, where does it go from here? We got settlement price up here at 1733.20. And we've got kind of a high side of a range that we got to pay attention to over here that we want to start keeping our eyes on to the high side. Now, one thing I do want to point out is we are continuously making lower highs on all these swing highs. So we may start to see, oh, look at that. It's forming a pattern. It's forming a wedge that we want to pay attention to. So if you missed that webinar yesterday, this is something John was talking quite a bit about. So we are starting to consolidate here. We are starting to compress. It's just going to be like a spring. That's how I look at these markets. I'm not a huge candlestick pattern person, but we are starting to create some sort of patterns. And to me, I'm looking at this and we're compressing that spring. Things are going to get a little bit tighter. We're going to find that big opportunistic breakout possibly coming up here before we know it. So, going to continue to keep a low side eye on this low side of the channel. Remember that channel runs right here, 1723, all the way up to 1726. So, a few dollars there. Nothing huge. But as the market has approached in there, we have found that it works both sides of that channel to create some opportunity. In the next area I'm going to keep an eye on. First thing first, we are now made it right to settlement price. That moved fast. We're going to look at the low side here. We're going to keep an eye on this 1736. Do we go break through last night's overnight high? That's going to be a big question for me, 1738. Notice we've made the highs in the overnight session. We're not making the highs during the regular trading hours. That's something I'm noting, paying attention to. Our highs have been during that overnight session. So it's going to be an interesting question as we approach the low side of this channel up here at 36. Next, let's go ahead and look at the euro. All right, euro, just like gold, has been on a steady decline since, well, first of the year as well. We are on a low side here. What I want to point out, something that I'm paying attention to, well, first off, let's make sure we touch base on our weekly kickoff levels. We know how utilized those are, how great those levels can be for us. We definitely want to keep them in mind. Weekly kickoff low is actually a little bit higher than where we're trading right now, and weekly kickoff high right here at 120.60. All right, so weekly kickoff low is 118.50. What I've been watching here since the start of the year, we've kind of created a little bit of a channel. Again, you guys know me. I like to look at markets from the stance of where are my extremes. Where are the extremes that I'm keeping an eye on? So I'm going to kind of crudely draw these things on here right now just so you can see what I tend to be looking at. I like to kind of get an idea of the channel that the market is trading in. For me, this helps me define what I'm looking for and where my opportunities are going to lie. So when I'm looking at the euro right now, I'm waiting for some sort of extreme to be checked before I can find an opportunity. That's how I have to trade some of these markets. So when I look a little bit closer here on the 30 minutes, what are some of the things we're seeing? Well, we're maintaining downtrend. We're in a channel. We're coming up towards a high side of a little bit of a channel here. This is going to create opportunity. If we are trending lower, science dictates go with the trend, right? Find the strength in a downtrending market. Sell the strength. Well, we've got settlement price all the way up here at 118.42.5. So that's a price we want to keep an eye on if this market continues this momentum to the upside. I'm waiting until equity open up. We are starting to see them catch a little bit over on the equity markets, it looks like. So I'm going to keep an eye on those markets to see how those open up to determine what I can do over here in the euro. But like I said, we have settlement price up here at 118.42.5. That could be a rotation to the upside. If not, look to see this market maintain the trend that we have been in for 1, 2, 3, and going on 4 days so far. Can that trend continue? That's going to be our big question here. And lastly, let's go ahead and look at the 10-year note. Like I said, yields are down. Notes are up. Makes complete sense. We have settlement price down here at 132.03 even. 132.03 even. And on the low side, before we can get down there, what I'm going to be paying attention to is overnight swing high right here. Or I shouldn't say overnight swing high because market did open up right around that high. But that's going to be an area we keep an eye on. 132.05. 132.05. Now, the note I have on my levels when I sat down this morning was watch that prior swing high. It's not yesterday's trade, but all the way over to the prior swing high, which is where we're trading right now. To me, if I'm trading the 10-year note, I'm looking for opportunity here. What's that opportunity? That's going to be the question. Well, there's a lot of factors we want to keep in mind. If we're going long, where's our risk and how are we managing this? Well, like we know, this is not a huge moving market. Stops have to be extremely tight and well controlled. If I'm going short, we have a really great opportunity to place a very tight stop here to be on the short side. But we've got yields coming down. We're going to keep an eye on those as the equities open. It's going to be imperative to watch what happens there. You've got bonds are down, and you have gold ripping right now to the upside. We are checking low side of that channel just about right now, 1735.40, 1735.50. So the bids are coming in. We're bringing this thing up 60, 70, 60, 70. We got opportunity in that market there, looking at that low side of a channel. Great opportunity there. All right, guys, these are our markets here today. Hope you guys are all having a spectacular morning so far and a great week. All right. So like I said, John's out today and tomorrow. I'll be here this afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Time with the market recap. Looking forward to it. We'll take a look at how some of these markets reacted, see what we can find going on in there. Other than that, I hope you guys all have a spectacular day. Good opportunity is going to be out there. I think trade what you see. Don't trade what you want the market to do. Trade with what you have and not what you want. It's kind of been a big theme for me this year, is really stressing that idea of if you have $5,000, you're trading on that $5,000. You're not trading on the fact that you want to be at $50,000. It's not how this works. We got to trade what we have. Eventually, we'll get to where we want to be. So just something I want to stress. On that note, you guys, I hope you have a spectacular day. I'll see you guys around. And again, I'll be back here 3 p.m. Central Time with the market recap. So stay safe, wash your hands, trade smart, and trade well. I look forward to seeing you guys in the markets. Take care.